Welcome back to another episode of the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hadeen, former installation contractor and boutique store owner, now bringing you the business advice you need to take your job to an asset that's going to actually help you free up your time for those dreams that you had when you thought you were becoming a business owner and all the things you wanted to do in life, and then you became a business owner and you no longer had time and you couldn't figure out why. We're addressing those issues every week. We want to help make you more profitable, more efficient. And honestly, if you can go from job to asset, at the end of the day, you'll have something to sell instead of a bunch of tools after 20, 30, 40 years in the trade that are depreciating assets and not worth the money you put into them originally. Now, they could have made you a lot of money. Hopefully you learn some things from the show, you do something with that. But if you can sell your business for a multiplier at the end of the day, that would be absolutely amazing. And if you're looking to just own a job, you want to be a one-man show, hey, the stuff in this show is going to help you be more efficient and profitable and let you go on vacation, take trips with your family, buy the boat, the toys you want. We're doing all those things around here. Returning this week, I think this is the first time I've done a part two. Maybe it's not. I think so, though. We have Justin Shaw back, and we're going to finish our conversation. We are talking about how your marketing strategy changes depending on what stage of business you're in. We got through the first two stages in the first episode, so go back to last week, listen to that if you missed it, and then we're picking up right kind of where we stopped, and we're going to finish these last three stages of business. So that being said, I got a couple of quick words from our sponsors, and then we will have Justin do a quick intro, and we will get right into this. If you're struggling to keep your schedule, forgetting to follow up with clients, are your books behind? Kronos Flooring Business Manager has the solutions you are looking for. Streamline your life, gain more freedom, and maintain control of your business. From scheduling to follow-up reminders, integration with QuickBooks, and producing quotes quickly, you can say goodbye to your business headaches. Visit kronosoft.com/academy today to schedule your demo for this all-in-one approach for flooring business organization. Kronos, fast relief for your flooring headaches. And attention flooring professionals, elevate your craftsmanship with the finest tools and supplies from tiletools.com. From spacers to saws, we have everything you need for flawless tile installations. Plus, we offer top-notch customer service and fast shipping. As a special offer for Floor Academy listeners, use code FA10 at checkout to receive 10% off your next order. Don't settle for less. Visit tiletools.com today and experience the difference in quality that professionals trust. All right, Justin, thank you again for coming back and making this work. We covered a lot of ground. I didn't see this coming, but I'm glad that we are digging deep and giving practical steps, strategies, tactics to implement all this stuff. So I'm glad to have it run out over two episodes. But let's do a real quick. Who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it? For those that may have missed the first part or aren't going to go back and listen to it, and then we'll jump right in at we finished up the We talked about startup. We finished up with the survival stage, and now we're gonna move on into the next three.
Cool, yeah, man. Thank you for having me back. Real quick intro. I've been working with stone. I did the same thing. I spent so long in the stone industry that's just like on autopilot. But yeah, we were heavy in the stone industry, but then that expanded. We got into things like Tice and coverings, and very quickly started working with millwork and other surface pros. And that was on the agency consulting side of things for about 7 years. And now I have a signature program called the 90-Day Growth Engine. And we're essentially looking to help surface pros be able to ascend to that next level as we go through the 5 stages. We went through the first 2 in the last episode, is to get to that next stage more quickly and easily. So generally within a 12 to 18 month time frame. And really giving the proven playbooks and frameworks to do that beyond just lead generation, new business development, and
Hmm.
beyond, and taking a holistic approach similar to the things that you mentioned at the very top. It's like building a business that works for you versus the other way around. Um, and we really focus on helping business owners to create a business they actually, enjoy
Yeah.
and is connected to long-term happiness. So, that's ideally really profitable, but something that they love showing up to work every day as well.
It's definitely helpful when you're enjoying what you're doing. That is for sure.
Totally.
And it's very easy to have the business start running you as opposed to you running the business, especially during
Mhm.
those startup and survival stages. You can develop some bad habits very quickly that will multiply and get out of control.
Totally. Or just chasing a big revenue goal and then like getting there 2 years later and you have a great relationship with your significant other, aren't showing up for your kids, and just
Hmm.
not hanging out with the friends and all of those things, all for the pursuit of money. So
Yeah.
I think as much as we're, in the pursuit of growth, in our program, it's important to have that other element, that other side.
Yeah. I've definitely there's someone I follow, and one of the things they say is there's actually like everyone talks about work life balance. And so even as we're talking in this episode, like know that he says balance isn't, it's not possible. You just have to
Mm,
go as hard for your family as you do for your business.
mm.
And I thought that was kind of
Interesting.
brilliant. Like and I think he's kind of right, because anytime you try and like, things are going to come up, like shit happens, right? And so the job goes sideways, something in the business goes sideways, but life's the same way. Like you don't know when someone's going to
Mm,
get sick. You don't know if a loved one's going to pass away. Like you just, so, the kid's going to break their leg. Who knows what's going to happen, right? But a wrench gets thrown in it constantly. My wife's transmission went out 2 weeks ago. Wasn't planning on that. And so that you having to figure it out, share a car for a minute here and make it work.
uh-huh.
But
Mhm.
how do you now plan and get around it? And so you just have to put in the effort and the time, and right, you sacrifice in one area and you make the other one work. And so I don't know, you got to go hard everywhere, and then maybe that's the balance.
That's a whole other topic.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
avoid going
we
down
could
that
dig
rabbit
deep
hole
into that
because
one.
yeah,
No,
it's totally, totally.
but so to get into it, so we talked about, like I said, we talked about startup and survival, and where we kind of build our marketing strategies out during those stages. And so what's up next for us?
Yeah, so we left off talking about getting out of that survival stage. And it may sound like a harsh, name of the stage, but I think it's if you have a lot of unpredictability, lack of control, um, 1 month tumbleweeds blowing through your pipeline or your schedule, and
Hmm.
then the next one you're slammed. That's kind of what we would define as survival mode.
Yeah.
And where there's pressures cash flow wise or so when you're moving out of that, what we talked about was really not getting distracted by shiny objects, focusing on one channel, one target audience, right? So as you're stacking up the wins there and getting the traction, you're moving into the successful stage. That's where, beyond just marketing, you're gaining some more control in the business. Business owns you a little bit less or
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
running you a little bit less. You've gotten some support, or even if you're a one man or one woman show, you have still managed to figure out the systems or the support so that you're able to focus on growth. So I think once you move out of, survival mode where you're just trying to fulfill on the promises and the projects that you have, you can actually turn your attention towards, hey, I'm looking to grow this, a
Hmm.
little bit. And we're still going to get to the scaling stage, but even in the successful stage, that's where you've got an eye to growth. Like there can be more here. So we talked about just really focusing in the survival stage on one channel. And that's where when you go into the successful mode, you can start to diversify a little bit.
Okay.
And so that's where I think you want to repeat successful actions. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? But it's like, okay, you're really laser focused when you found that mechanism that's working. So your competitive advantage, your core offer, then it's a matter of, okay, putting that into different channels, getting more eyeballs on that in different places. It's not cut and dry exactly as to what those next things should be because it does depend on your budget. So somebody successful
Hmm.
might be that they were operating with a $2,500 a month budget. And then the max they can go to now is 5K. And we've worked with, certain clients that are a $3 million a year business, but their marketing budget's capped at 5K a month. Not
Mhm.
ideal, but you're still able to do a lot with it. But if that's the case, you're really taking, you had 2,500 before, and that was in what we were talking about was Meta. Let's just say for
Yeah.
the purpose of the example, you'd take the 2,500 extra that you have now and put it into pay-per-click on Google, for example. So you're not
Mhm.
able to do a ton in that case, but you're adding one extra channel.
Okay.
And you've got an offer that works and you have those different things dialed in. But if you've got a more robust budget, and we can go deeper on different examples, but successful looks like you've got 20K. Well, then it's a whole different ball game, as to the channels you can operate in. But some of the things that will generally be true for most people is pay-per-click, then getting into SEO, beyond local SEO, getting into
Mhm.
where we were talking about your Google My Business,
Yeah.
is getting into ranking your website. And what I don't think we talked about on the last episode was I like to make a distinction, or maybe we did make a distinction between fast lane marketing tactics
Mm-mm.
and slow lane.
Okay.
So people will, yeah,
Well, I think
recommend. Sorry, go ahead.
well. So one thing before we dive into fast lane and slow lane, we didn't get into that. I think that's probably a really good thing to distinguish. Is you're talking about increasing a marketing budget, and at this successful stage of business, I think the thing to note here is that even if you can go from 2,500 to 5,000, and we stick with the Meta, the Facebook, Instagram thing, and we double our budget, at this point, you should know what your returns will be because you have so much data. You have enough to
Right.
know that if I put in $2,500 a month, I'm getting $25,000 in revenue out of it, or $30,000, right? You're going to know what your multiplier is. I apologize for that, folks. Let me get that turned off. And so when you start a new channel, you're going to have to learn the same things. You're going to have to dial it all in, but you know that you're going to start getting a return. And so I think a lot of people think advertising is throwing money away. And if you go with these folks that are online that you see in the online groups, and it's, hey, I'm looking for, 10 contractors that can take 7 to 10 more leads a month. Yeah, you're probably going to throw your money away, because if that's their offer, that's a crap offer.
There's one guy that came up with that, and all the marketers, jumped on it because it worked for a little while. And yeah, I know exactly what
Who
you're talking
doesn't
about.
want more leads? But how are you going to get them for me? What does it cost? What's your average return? What's your average ticket price that you're helping me acquire, right? Like, I have so many questions and they
Yeah.
can't answer them when I ask. And so, you know, it's just a horrible offer. It's a horrible gimmick. It's like you putting a sale and doing, hey, I'm going to do 30% off flooring. Whoop-de-doo. Like, Mrs. Jones is really excited as she's, looking to learn about her grandkids as she scrolls Facebook, and she passes your offer that says 30% off flooring. I don't care. It brings nothing to me that you're interrupting my flow of what I'm trying to enjoy. So, but the point is that you'll have the data to know what your return can be.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I get ahead of myself. I like that you're able to walk it back a second. And I should actually say that was a bad example I gave on the breakdown. 2,500 to 5K, you would just put another 2,500 in the channel that's working.
Well,
So that
not
was a bad
necessarily. I
example.
mean, yes,
But
but not necessarily. It depends on how well it's working for you, right? And so I don't think it's a bad thing to
well,
expand, but I think
I
knowing
wouldn't.
that you can double up, and you should theoretically, this is where I wouldn't know, but I would guess that maybe you don't get a one for one there, but maybe you're going to end up, instead of when it's 5K, if you were getting a 10x, maybe you only get like a 9.8 or like 9x or something, right? Like it may go
Right.
down a little bit, but it still should generate
Mm-hmm.
more leads that are close to that revenue amount where it's still worthwhile to do.
Yeah, 2,500 is pretty small. So you would assume you would only put more money in if it's working. You don't
Mm-hmm.
put more money in if you don't have a proven ROI. And then you would want to put more into that channel before you jump onto a pay-per-click, for example, because that's a fairly small budget. And so then you don't have much, really to play with when you go to Google. So
So,
the
well,
main
okay,
thing is
what are you looking
yeah,
at as a
go ahead.
budget then? Like if you
before
had
you'd make that
control,
move?
if you had control of somebody's business and you got to set the marketing budget as a percent of gross revenue, what would you
Hmm.
make it?
So yeah, we have a calculator on that. I'd say it's, depends on your risk tolerance.
Hmm.
But if you took your gross, 7 to 8% would be like a conservative for a marketing budget on a monthly.
Okay. So that folks,
Um,
let's round it up to 10 to make the math easy. And if you're doing $300,000 a year in gross revenue, you've got to come up with $30,000 over 12 months that you drop into marketing.
yeah, and some people go to 12 to 15, right? So
Hmm.
anywhere in that range, like 7 to 50 on the aggressive side, once it starts to provide that return. So
Okay.
start smaller, bump it up.
Got it.
Um,
Okay.
and then
Now
if
that
we
I've gotten
want
you
to talk,
completely off track.
yeah, no, it's good because I mean people are listening to this because that's one of the most common questions we used to get. So I think it's good to tackle that. Like, how much do I need to spend? And we talked about that last time on the last episode that it depends on your conversion objective. Because if you were just going straight brand awareness, you could get a lot for your investment of $1,500 because
Hmm.
you're doing video views or engagement, for example, not even traffic because you're not paying for clicks. So it'll go pretty far. But once you want to start generating leads, then, minimum budget, getting like 2,500 is cutting it close, and then 3K, you're starting to be able to move the needle a little bit. But where businesses should want to get to is to have $100 a day ad spend on Meta, for example.
Hmm.
$100 a day, solid, healthy budget to really be able to get enough data, to really be able to bid enough, and to generate enough volume to have enough leads to work with, to get a good, to have your
Okay.
conversion rate work for you, and then start to reinvest, a percentage of profits either on a quarterly basis or on a monthly basis,
Okay.
back into that. And then at a certain point, so if you're at $100 a day on Meta and you have extra, then going to another channel makes sense.
Okay.
So that's a good guideline to go
Sounds
by
good.
that I would give.
All right.
Cool.
Now we'll go back to the regular scheduled program here.
Oh no, I don't think we have one.
Well, I mean, we
So
do. I took you
we're
off
kind of do,
track, and
but
so
we're jamming.
we're increasing our budget. We're looking to add a second channel at this point, whether it's pay per click or maybe we go over to the TikToky and do some stuff over there,
Oh,
or
yeah, I wouldn't
I don't know, maybe we're
wouldn't
gonna pay
recommend
Pinterest.
that.
Maybe we pay Yelp. Oh God, I can't believe I said that.
Yeah, yeah, no.
Look, it works for
I
some
would
people,
say,
right? But I don't
yeah.
want the phone calls. So that when I cringed during the first episode when you said it, but it's just because I know the minute you create your business on their platform, their salespeople are relentless in trying to get you to sign up, no matter
Oh,
what you
yeah,
tell
yeah,
them.
yeah.
So,
Totally.
but look, it works for some businesses. There's probably some businesses that use Thumbtack and do really well. There's probably some businesses that use Angie's and do really
Yeah,
well. And so
absolutely.
there are other things out there besides Google and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. And again, I think I said Pinterest in there. Maybe you can advertise on Pinterest. I would assume they've monetized by this point. So there's
That's a
there's
tricky one, but yeah.
there's plenty of options out there for you to be able to throw. Anyone will take your money. I mean, hell, I'll advertise for you, right? Throw me some money, I'll figure it out. Um, but there's plenty of places for you to burn money if you want to just burn it. But if you're looking to actually do it, then at this point, yeah, Facebook, Meta, whatever you want to call it, and Google are the two biggest platforms.
Yeah, two biggest platforms. You'd have less risk in trying some of the other less traditional platforms or channels. But I would say, like, yeah, I mean, you did a good job of backing it up to like, hey, getting in at your data, know what you're looking at before you're making decisions. You want to be making data informed decisions. Um, and similarly, like a little audit and awareness of what your competition's doing, and is there an opportunity that is being overlooked by others
Hmm.
where it's less saturated, less people going after the same market as you? Okay, maybe that's one to look at. But yeah, I typically wouldn't say like jump on TikTok um and dance in your videos, for dancing for dollars. Not saying that's all you do, but there's the standard tried and true
Hmm.
Meta, Google, and the good thing about those is there's a lot of information out there that you can leverage, on YouTube University, for example, or
Okay.
go and Google and find a good blog. And so having clarity and confidence on the channel you're going to jump into is also something that's noteworthy there,
I think
versus something that's
the key there, folks, is you need to do some research. I think, and maybe I mentioned this last time, maybe we've talked about on the show before, probably, is that you need to know enough information to be not necessarily dangerous to yourself, but to hold your partner accountable. If
Mm,
you can't have a conversation with them and understand what they're telling you, and they're not
mhm,
explaining it, or when you ask questions they're not willing to explain it, that's not a good partner. Like, I'm not going to go hire a bookkeeper and then she tells me, hey, here's your P&L for the month, and I say, what's a P&L? And she's like, don't worry about it, just read it. Well, I don't know what any of these numbers mean, right? Well, and then she's like,
mhm.
well, figure it out. That's not who I want to be working with, because they're not educating me. They're the expert. I need you to educate me to a minimum so I understand, right? A P&L is a profit and loss statement. It tells me how much money I made or lost at the end of the month, where it was spent, in what categories, and all that fun stuff. And I should get one every month, and it's backwards looking instead of forwards looking. It's not projecting anything. It's telling me what happened in the past. So there's a basic breakdown, but I had to get taught that at some point so that I understood what was going on. It's the same thing with marketing. So Justin's here. We kind of talked about what Metapixel is yesterday and things like that. And if you can't, if the person's not willing to teach you, then you gotta get out of there, because then you really are. You're
Mm.
just gonna throw the money away, and it's not doing you any
Totally.
favors.
Totally, totally. And just disclaimer, I'm not advocating for paid because we're no longer operating as an agency. We don't have services for done for you marketing services that we're
Hmm.
trying to promote here. The big reason why I advocate for those channels versus all the slew of other digital traditional marketing, or going to participate in a networking event, chamber of
Hmm.
commerce, or like, different things of that nature, is we're looking for a reasonable amount of control. And I think that's the big thing that I
Okay.
advocate for. And so, you can go to chamber of commerce and network, and one month, okay, that yields something. Next month, it's a swing and a miss. For example, you don't have control, just like you don't have control over referrals,
Hmm.
right? Well, to a degree. I mean, you can obviously put some effort in, design a mechanism, get more of them, but you don't have the control that we're looking for of input and output. $1 in,
Yeah.
knowing, give or take in a range, what you're going to get back, and being able to scale your business accordingly. So that's why I advocate for those versus us really getting and talking
Hmm.
about right now into the other things like SEO, for example. Like, you don't have that level of control.
Okay. Makes
Mm.
sense. And I guess we
Yeah.
can go backwards. If you're not doing some kind of networking it, in this startup survival stage, then you may want to go and look at that. It's really, really hard to not be on the tools, especially if you're a one man show. But finding those events to participate in and going and meeting, if you want to do general contractor work, finding a group to be in with general contractors, doing a BNI group, or some kind of chamber of commerce stuff, every couple of weeks. Like, you got to be consistent. You got to meet up with the people, but that it will help your business. It does make a difference when you
Totally.
participate in it. So that's other stuff that you can do. That's a little bit of money, more of a time investment. Whereas what we're talking about is within the digital realm, which is less time, more money. So
Mm.
you gotta
Yeah, there would be a
work it
long
from all angles.
checklist, right, of all the things that people could do. But if you're just getting out of survival mode and you're moving into successful, yeah, having that control
Hmm.
is really important, because otherwise, then just a slowdown come, and it's different for everybody, right? Summer slowdown, oh man, tumbleweeds in the pipeline again, and not having that ability to pull that lever and crank things up a little bit, right? So that's the thing that we're going for
Hmm.
as you move through the stages of business. And if you've got a larger team, if you're a larger business, then you can diversify more quickly and have, one of your reps go out to an event, et cetera. And there's
Yes.
more things at your disposal, but we're just kind of checking like the immediate box. But yeah, I definitely recommend, if anybody is looking, so we're talking about retail, but if you're looking to work with builders, contractors, developers, um, and other design build professionals, networking and business development is really where you'd want to shift your focus rather than what we're talking about. You'd actually want to be prioritizing that through the survival into successful,
Mhm.
is that's where you'd want to plant your flag. And that's a different approach, but we can jam on that too if we have time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on, this is you knowing your business, but at the end of the day, no matter what, you have to be keeping track, and the digital realm is going to make it easier to recognize, hey, I put this much money in, and if you're tracking everything properly, you'll be able to know where the leads came from, what they were worth, and know what that ROI was. And so if you want to sell your business one day, it's a lot easier to say, hey, every time I put, $1,000 into this funnel, I'm getting $10,000 out, and then I have that $1,000 to put back in, and I can get another $10,000 out, and it happens every time. So I know that right before summer, when it's going to slow down because everyone goes on vacation, so that's going to be June, July, August. So in April, I start pumping an extra $1,000 in to generate more leads, and then my summer stays full. Someone's going to look at that and be like, "Oh wow, this guy really knows what he's doing. He can control his business and the flow of it, and make sure that he can stay busy when he needs to." And so that's much more valuable than, I don't know, I think I do about $300,000 a year. I don't know. Let me go get my shoe boxes and figure it out. That's no way. Not interested.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, totally. And if you're not looking to exit or sell the business, it still gives you a lot of peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's peace of mind, security, and leverage. So we're looking for leverage in many ways in the business, but if you want to take a month off, if you've grown, you're in a successful stage and you're not stuck in the day to day, and you're the only one installing. If you do want to have that, I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying if somebody's grown and they want to take a month off, you want a mechanism that's working while you're not to fill that pipeline. And if it was
Yeah.
just networking events, et cetera, you don't have that lever. You don't have that leverage. So yeah, that's why I'm so bullish on recommending these mechanisms for getting your paid channels dialed in, and then you can add other things. So if you're in the successful stage, then the other things you're adding, because we're not going to get tactical here on actual what makes Google work, is we were talking a little bit about fast lane
Oh
versus
yes,
slow lane.
slow lane versus fast lane marketing differences. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's good to have a distinction between that. When you see in the forums and people are recommending what's worked for them, it's good to know what you're going to invest your time, money, and energy in, and the return you should expect. So if somebody's like, "Yeah, SEO has, been fantastic for us over the last 3 years," I just read a comment this morning, so it was like, "It's made us $1 million. Here's my guy." It's good to know that that's going to take 9 to 12 months
Mm-hmm.
typically to yield a return, and super valuable and should not be overlooked, but it's slow lane, right? So it can, fit into that category. Whereas if you're like, okay, I know 3 months from now it's going to be a little bit slower, it's typically crickets, then that's not the channel you're looking at, right? You need something fast lane
Mm-hmm.
like a Meta or a Google that's going to get leads into your pipeline, within days of turning something on.
That makes sense. I think a lot of people think SEO is fast. Oh, I'm just going to change they're going to go do their magic on my website. They're going to make sure the keywords are right. And all of a sudden I'm going to start ranking better. It's not the way it works. It takes time for the
Yeah.
page to get crawled by the bots and start
Unless there's
noticing that you have
nobody
better
else
content. And
around you. Like if there's like
yeah.
nobody else and you just had a website that had all the default settings, and then yeah, you'll shoot up page one if there's nobody else. But in most competitive local
Hmm.
service markets, yeah, you're gonna have to fight for every position and to maintain it. So it's gonna take you 9 to 12 months or more.
Makes sense. And so when it's called pay per click for a reason, it'll put you out there, but
Yeah.
you're going to pay for it, right? And so you can bid. Flooring is going to be an expensive keyword. I have no idea if it's $10, $20 a click. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, if you want to bid it at 30 so that you get put there before people that aren't willing to pay $30 per click, you can do so, and you can beat them out, and you will get put as that top ad when people search flooring near me. So it'll cost you more, but then what's that result in? And the other problem is like, it cracks me up, but like you can search floor and decor now, or you can search Home Depot, and you do, And the third result is the non-paid ad, and because it's Home Depot, it shows up as Home Depot. But then the top pay-per-click spot is Home Depot. And people click on that every time because it's first. It's right there, right? I don't have to scroll as far to click it. You're making everything at Home Depot cost more because they're having to pay for that spot. Every time you click that link instead of the like normal link, it costs money.
Yeah.
Which drives their budget up, which means they have to have a certain margin to go in. Like, it's just, this is the weird business stuff I think about. But you can pay for that spot, but every time it's clicked on, it costs you money. That's money out of your pocket. And so, like, pay-per-click is great, but does it necessarily need to be there? Can you get them to be willing to drop down the mouse 2 inches on the screen and click the other link?
Yeah, when I'm looking for something and there's like a small business and I see the Google ad and I see their website, I always make sure like not to click on the ad, just see, if I can get a little further down to find their website, and not make them pay for my visit if I can help it.
It's a weird, like, I don't know, this whole thing has, like, having a business, learning all about how it all works on the back end, and it, like, makes me think way differently about how I use the internet and stuff. But yeah, I mean, look, you can pay for the results and you can get them quickly, but you're going to have to pay for them, and the ROI may not necessarily be there because, again, you can go and you could bid flooring at $100 per click, and you're going to pay $100 a click. But if that doesn't generate into a $10,000 lead, is it worth the $100? Probably not, because how many people are going to click it before how many hundreds of dollars are you going to have to spend with people clicking it just to get to your website to say this isn't a good fit for me, or I'm not interested, or it's a tire kicker, until you actually get the person that wants to buy.
Let's not scare people off though. If they get, you should do some research, find a trusted vendor. We can drop where to hit me up. I can make a referral, for example. But you'll be paying, what you can count on one or two hands per click, versus
Yes.
going up that high. Your leads should be, you should be able to get a solid number of leads for $100. You should be able to get.
Yes, I'm just saying you can. I'm
leads.
exaggerating it,
Yeah,
folks. Like,
I don't think anybody should do that. Don't go.
Don't. But that's what I'm saying is, like, if you want it, you can get it, but you're going to pay for it, and it's going to be useless.
Yeah.
So it's better to figure out what that actual range for it is. Where's the average people are paying? How do you craft an offer around it, right? But this is where you sit down with a professional and you really work at, okay, how do we maximize the ROI on this keyword, and is it worth having? Or and do you want to use the number one keyword, or do you want to go and find the third, fourth, fifth ranked keywords in your, like, expertise area and use those and maybe pay more for those, and that you might get a higher ROI on them, but you can pay less.
It's a complex, like, that's doing Google ads versus, it's interesting because when we've got our academy and our program and we're giving people, paint by numbers, we do have that for Meta to be able to, give that to somebody, they take it through, gain control of their own ads. And we've considered, should we do that for Google? But there are some solid, specialists that we can refer out to for, a very affordable cost. It's kind of like for all the, constant monitoring you'd have to do, and to be in there on a weekly basis, just giving somebody a very small budget to entrust them with giving you the highest ROI you could get. We decided to go that route.
Which makes, I don't have time. I got 20 other things I have to be doing as a business owner. I don't have time to monitor it. And I think that's where people get confused, is that they're like, oh, I can just set it and forget it. No, anything digital is constantly evolving and needs a significant time investment. And it's probably over an hour a week that you can give to it as a business owner.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. The reason that we decided to do that on the Facebook or Meta side of things with Instagram is, and I mean, there's leverage there. A lot of our clients are a little bit, between, they're generally over 1 million,
Hmm.
right? And they've got some support, and they can have a front desk or even sales staff person running the Facebook ads. But is that going through that process of setting those up helps you to create that winning offer, which then should be on your website. It should be on all of your touch points. So I think
Hmm.
there's so much value in going through that process, and then understanding how, through going through the process of learning how to create winning offers and ads on Meta, you really learn the ins and outs of marketing. And so we found that to be something that every business owner should have, just a solid understanding of really how to move the needle for their business, versus just fully outsourcing that, because then you don't gain that understanding.
Hmm.
That's why we decided to do it that way. So I think there is some value, but yeah, to have the business owner sitting there for hours analyzing stuff, not ideal.
For sure. So as we're in this successful stage, and we're picking up additional channels, right? So maybe we build out, we did Meta, we build out Google pay per click, we start dabbling in some SEO stuff. Maybe we look at some other paid platform. What is there anything else we're adding in this stage?
I mean, you could, if you're in the successful stage, and you're, decently profitable, then the argument could be made is you could start adding so many other things into the mix, that we even talked about some of those on the last episode, and putting, budgets behind things like direct mail, like, advertising in local magazines, right? So there's a lot of different options, but typically in the successful stage, I would recommend focusing on those three. So you got your Meta, your Google, pay-per-click, SEO,
Okay.
and start to then optimize, right? Spend more time to convert a higher amount of those leads. So
Mm.
whether you're focused then on your CRM and your email nurturing sequence at the beginning, and email marketing to your broader list, of people, is really starting to fine tune those things, so that if you had a 40% conversion rate from cold traffic, and that's different than somebody walking in the showroom, you should have a better than 40% conversion rate of people that walk in your door. But totally cold traffic, if you had a 40% conversion rate, then start working on 45%,
Hmm.
and then start working on 50%. And then your money that you're spending on those channels is going to go farther, and then you're just reinvesting. You really want to just start to build those up to where you were once at 3K a month on Meta. Now you're at 6, then you're at 10, then you're at 15. And when you're doing that in the successful stage, you're going to find that you're able to move your business into the scaling stage. And when you really have that control, you pull the levers and you pour more money into those channels that we talked about.
Okay.
Those big three pillars are going to see you be able to really capture a large part of the market that you're going after.
Okay.
And a lot of your competition probably didn't spend the time and invest enough time, and wasn't patient enough to figure it out, and either quit or have things running that aren't really working. So if you've really focused on dialing those in before spreading yourself too thin, that's where I would go, until you're like many of the companies that you see where they're able to open new locations. They can do that generally because they figured it out. They have a blueprint that works, that says, hey,
Hmm.
we're going to repeat this process in this new location, starting again with 5K, then 10K, and you can expand in that range. So there's companies that when they're, at 5 million at a location, they're spending, you know, 20K a month, across their channels, for just
Hmm.
for example. And they've been able to get there because they were paying close attention and really spending enough
Yeah.
time. So that would be my recommendation. Not that there aren't other things that work, right?
Hmm.
But we
No,
want
that
to
makes sense.
avoid. Yep,
So
yep.
I'm gonna jump in here real quick with a couple words from some sponsors, and then we'll get
Cool,
into
cool.
it. And I believe we are at the scaling stage next. So
Yeah.
the rumors are true. GoBoard Pro is available and approved for steam showers. GoBoard Pro was developed for the pro contractor's ease of project workflow. Panel sized at 48 by 64 inches will limit waste on your project. They'll require less seams, meaning less sealant is needed. And best of all, you can space those beautiful blue GoBoard fasteners out to 12 inches without the need for washers. Visit www.jm.com/goboard for all the product details. Schluter Systems is all about providing products and systems that ensure durable, functional, and beautiful tile installations. With an emphasis on education through their nationwide workshop program for professionals, the goal of the company is to offer innovative solutions to the tile industry that solve common challenges faced by installers. Their product line includes over 6,000 items, including tile trims, uncoupling membranes, floor heating systems, waterproof building panels, shower systems, and thin-set mortars. For more information, you can visit schluter.com. Links to all of our sponsors are in the show notes. Make sure you go check them out. Click there and let them know that you heard about them through the show. All right, Justin, we have clawed our way from being a startup and doing projects on the weekend and buying tools and saving up, and then we started getting things together, and we have started developing systems, and we came up with some extra money, and we were able to build a budget for marketing, and that got us to where we were able to really dial in the systems and start having things work in our favor. We have repeatable processes. We're starting to know that we have this offer crafted in this way will attract this person. It costs us this much money. We get this much of an ROI. And if we do it at this time of year, we get the best results on this offer, and this offer works best this time of year. We have all the data. And now we're looking to, how do I take it to the next level?
So taking it to the next level, I think this might be less exciting for people than they think. But the fundamental thing here is, regardless if we've been talking about paid, but I think if anybody's listening to this and they're like, well, I've been doing X, Y, Z, and I'm not so sure about what these guys are talking about, is repeat successful actions. So like whatever it is that you're doing that you found success in, repeat successful actions and scale that till you hit that ceiling. So we're talking about, okay, you're on Meta, you're on Google, and you're doing SEO. Those are 3 pillars. You're now hitting the scaling phase. There is a point in those digital channels when we're talking about paid, where you'll hit a threshold of diminishing returns. Like it gets very hard to scale. And it's not a direct, where once you were putting 10K in and just thinking, okay, we're going to dump 50K into Meta and we should get X back.
Yeah.
Having been in the trenches and deep inside those campaigns for many, many years, it is one of the most frustrating things, because, they would be great if you could. But you'll find a point where things start to break. So whether you're doing it yourself, you're working with an agency, it's something to be aware of, that campaigns can actually what once worked at a 10K spend and you go up to 15 or 20, it just stops working the way it once did. You get diminishing returns. So something to note: repeat successful actions until you hit diminishing returns. And then try and maintain what you had, and then diversify. So at the scaling stage, or even before that, I think before we talk about some of the things that people might expect, where you're looking at, hey, we can afford to do some PR, because PR can kind of be expensive. Or, sponsor local events. And probably there's people thinking, or have already done that, even at the survival stage. Some of the things that they do is sponsor a local baseball event. But, my thing is just having that control. So we've advocated for other things. I would say at the scaling stage, and some might put this even beyond that, is to go omni-channel. Like now there's the options in digital to kind of be everywhere for a fairly low cost. And so some of the things I would look for is building a team, whether that's a freelance videographer, whether that's a couple of VAs, if you haven't already done that, is really build a team to help you develop content at scale. So whether that is your SEO, but I'm focused more on video at this specific stage, is there's an opportunity. And so this could fit before, again, disclaimer, before the scaling stage. But if it hasn't been done yet, this is what I would say is the overlooked opportunity right now. It can even be done for smaller budgets. But is social media and in some senses, just the web in general offers what you had back in the day for television, advertising, radio, but at a fraction of the cost, right? So what it would cost to get on an infomercial and be blasting people with the whatever it was, six-pack abs at 3 a.m. while you're eating potato chips, what it costs to run that ad back in the day, you can run that for pennies for video views, is what we were talking about
Yeah.
previously, right? And so I think the big opportunity for a company looking to scale is to own mindshare, hyper-saturate a local market, and just dominate it. So the way that you're going to be able to do that is through an abundance of video content. So why you want to have a team in place is that's just a pain in the butt, right? To film a lot of stuff, edit it,
Yes, it
publish
is.
it, it's a pain in the butt. But you can get an affordable team in place to do that, and you want to feed that machine, essentially, to
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of top of funnel content. Top of funnel being those that are not familiar with your brand yet, that you want to get in front of, familiarize them with, and then you can move them through the funnel essentially. So capturing mindshare, when I'm talking about that, is what we said in the last episode is for like 0.005 cents, you can get somebody to watch a 15-second ad. So think
Okay.
about what that used to cost 30 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if your competitors aren't doing this, or if you want to outcompete them, and outspend them, is the goal that I have for our clients that we work with when they're in that scaling phase or even before that, is you want your brand and your positioning in the market to be synonymous with, so flooring, those that are searching, sorry, those that would be in market to upgrade their floors,
Mm-hmm.
install new floors. When they think of flooring, they think of you.
Yep.
But to add to that, for your specific positioning in the market. So not the whatever it was we were saying yesterday, per square foot, the absolute lowest bottom of the barrel, segment of the market, those that is match your ideal customer, right? And then own that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're able to do that, we've had clients where they can't go to the grocery store. They can't go to the gas station without people being like, hey, you're that guy.
Mm-hmm.
They'll literally come up to people. You're that guy from the videos at the grocery store. And when you can do that, you've achieved, market saturation. And it's possible now because you can target a 25-mile, serviceable radius and have people be able to see your ads with the frequency you can decide. Do you want them to see that every day? Do you want them to see that every 3 days?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want them to see certain types of videos? And then the big opportunity is as they're engaging, those that engage, these platforms can say, hey, somebody's watched a total of X percentage of your content. Now show them middle of funnel content. So when they're in consideration, that's where you're sharing different things with them, right? Beyond them knowing who you are, now it's, hey, three tips, so that your flooring project goes seamlessly, right? You can
Yeah.
start to put that content in front of them. And that wasn't available, when you're running the six-pack abs at 3 a.m. You just had to blast
Yeah.
television commercials. And now it can be very personalized based on how somebody engaged with something. Did they go to your website? Did they actually request a quote? And if they did, they can see a whole different type of content. So the big opportunity there is full funnel marketing. So hypersaturation and then full funnel marketing, so that the only people that see your offer then later on are the ones that made it through to bottom of the funnel. They've raised their hand to show you, hey, I'm actually in
Okay.
market. I'm truly considering something. I've done some behaviors where then I'm going to see this ad, and instead of paying $150 for that lead, you can pay $20 for that lead. So this is a big overlooked opportunity to
Okay.
really
So-
sink your teeth into when you're at that level of the game.
Okay, so instead of having to blast out the message with the big infomercial or spend a lot of money, what you're saying essentially is that because we have the metapixel data built up, because Google is adding cookies to them when they're clicking on our link or getting into our paid per click funnel, we now have tracking data on them that the computer's doing for us in the background. And so you've crafted a funnel that says, if this person has this part of the cookie, you start showing them this information, and then that will add to the cookie and put that they've seen that, and now they've participated, they've opted into that part of it, which then goes and says, oh, hey, they've done this. Okay, now we're going to add the third part of our funnel in, and they start getting this different messaging. And so it's automatically happening in the background, but you've crafted the entire funnel of like, hey, Bob's Flooring is here, we'd love to serve you, to, hey, you know, book an appointment for the summer and save 10%. And I hate those offers, but that's just what I'm going to go with right now because it's quick and easy and dirty. And then they schedule the estimate, and then they start getting messages about, hey, you know, checking in. Did you know that here's 3 tips on how to hire a contractor, what to look for, da, da, da. And then they finally book with you, and you close that out. But then they start getting content about like what to look for coming up to their installation or during their installation. Is that kind of how we're building this out?
Yeah, most wouldn't take it as far as that. That would be like the full funnel is like after you've closed the deal, you're giving them some goods, but generally you would just send that to them in email. But yeah, all the way up to project closed is, yes, exactly, personalizing the message for the stage of the customer journey that they're in by leveraging the digital tools that are available. Exactly.
Okay.
And then a recap on that is just think about, you know, do you want to be synonymous with a position in the market for your serviceable region? And there's an opportunity to absolutely dominate that, and even outcompete, you know, a Home Depot because of how precise you can be when you do it properly.
Okay. And look, everyone's scared of video. I get it. I was too. Like, I've gotten used to it. And even having like, when I was filming television shows, it terrified me to be on camera. And now just doing the podcast, I'm not as terrified being in front of the camera now in front of you all, because I've been doing it for almost 6 years, I think. But it's still, it's awkward. So I get it. If you don't want to be the face of your company, don't be the face of your company. And you don't have to make one of your employees be the face of your company. You could pay someone to voice it over. You can have an employee voice it over. You can just use images. AI generators can make cartoons for you now. Like, you have so many options that there really isn't an excuse not to be in the digital game. And I think I hate reels. I hate stories. I hate the TikToks, because it's made us need information so quickly that we have absolutely no attention span. But here's the thing about it is when I've looked at it, and coming from a storytelling background, the most successful people are telling really amazing, compelling, and interesting stories in a minute or less. And so that's how long you have. And it's not hard. That I actually have a video on the YouTube, storytelling basics for advertising. You can go look that up on the Floor Academy channel, and I walk you through like kind of what makes a story work and what parts are in it and how you can tell it. But you can start applying that to, okay, how do I actually create something in a minute that does that? And it's totally possible to do. But you have to understand your audience, which we've already talked about doing. And so at this stage in your business, when you're looking to get in these channels, you're going to have all the data in order to put these stories together and compel people to move towards you. And then you have the money to leverage those stories in front of them to get them to purchase with you, which is great. And so find a way to do it. You don't have to be the guy. You don't have to be the gal. If you want to, that's great. I have a client that's still absolutely terrified of doing it, and yet she gets on there 3 times a week and she makes content. She hates doing it, but she does it, and it's moving the needle for her. People have started coming in the store. Oh my God, you're here. I love your videos. Yeah. Like, some lady drove 2 hours. Like, she used to live in the city and she's moved elsewhere, and she came back. She was in town. She stopped in the store specifically to just be like, I love your videos. They're so entertaining.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome for her.
She's not, more than likely she's not going to buy, but she has an audience. And that's great. Like, there's people, right? And the more people that watch it, interact, and like and comment, then you start drawing in, it puts it out to more people. So that's what you're after. That's what you're trying to do here. So you can pay for the views and help get it out there, but eventually it's going to turn into more than that as you learn how to make that offer that people are actually interested in by telling a good story. 10% off flooring today, not a great story. Mrs. Jones had a puppy that pissed all over her carpet, and now you've given her luxury vinyl plank that she can just wipe up. That's a relatable story. I sold tons of floors that way, folks. Like that's no, there's no worry about the dog peeing on this because you can just wipe it up. So what's funny is that I think everyone struggles to know what the story is. Your clients tell you every time they buy from you if you're listening to them.
I was just gonna say.
Every time,
Yeah.
let alone your installers are in that house for a couple days, a week, sometimes a month, depending on what's going on in this remodel that they're doing. Ask your installers what they're talking to the homeowner about, because the homeowner is telling them the story of like, oh my gosh, I was having this problem over here, and then that made us want to do this thing, and then that led to us getting this thing over here. Like, they will tell you the story of their life. And if Mrs. Jones is going through it, there's a Mrs. Smith that is having the exact same problems and she wants the solutions. And so you turn that story into a video, and then somebody else sees it and they say, oh my God, that's me. I have to call Bob's Flooring right now because they can do what I need done. So you just have to go and listen. And
Listen, or if you can, when you've got that solid rapport and they're thrilled, is capture that, there's only going to be a handful every month, but they're there if you ask, and you've built that rapport where you can get them on video sharing that story. Some are happy to, some are extroverted, some are not scared of the camera, and are happy to do it for you. And that's, the best way to do it is to get it firsthand from the person.
Yeah.
And leverage that content.
If you're not leveraging video testimonials at this point, you got to up your game. Somebody's going to do it for you, and it will be life changing. I don't care how much you promote your business. In fact, if you are sitting there touting your business to me, it turns me off, and I don't want to hear it. But when somebody like me is going off about how great you are, I will listen. Like, I want my peers to tell me, but when you do it, you're just full of yourself and think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like, it's not necessarily that you're wrong. It just doesn't have the same power as my peers telling me that something works great, right? That's why we all go on Amazon and we start looking at the reviews, because we want to know what somebody else is saying. And I trust a video testimonial way more than a written one, because I can see facial expressions and I can read people and I can see what their demeanor is when they're saying it. So that's another great way at this point. Like, you can start doing this way before, but at this point in the game, you have more time probably to focus on things like this. But if you can start doing it in your startup phase, it's going to go a really long way. Put those on your website, build a YouTube channel, get them on your Facebook page as reels, right? Cut them down, make them a minute or less. And so you can get them up there. And this is the stuff that's going to be game changing for you.
Absolutely. That's a competitive advantage. So start doing that as early as possible. And when you're in the scaling stage, then you're putting a budget behind that, so everybody sees it that you want to see. You get all the eyeballs. And so that's why we're bringing it up. There's a few reasons we're bringing it up now, is because we've covered so much so far.
That we have. Okay. So I think, does that do it for this scaling portion for the most part? Is there anything we need to add to it?
I think that's enough for people to go with. You don't want to give too many things. And as we said, there's all of the other things you could look at, whether that's a billboard, whether that's at this point when you have some extra money to play with, then there's a lot of other things you can get into. It's just those weren't going to be able to give you all that data as much. I mean, you can run a billboard where, there's a very specific offer, and the people that call or the people that come through the door, you can attribute to that, but not as easily. So yeah, I think that kind of wraps that up, especially on the retail side. We haven't really talked about B2B. Maybe that'll be a whole nother day, one day down the road. But
yeah, that's a whole different game. Okay. And so that puts us at sustainable.
Yeah, sustainable, which I think is, there's not really, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, the scaling stage really took care of the bulk of it. At the sustainable stage, it's more of thinking about things in terms of looking at diversification. So I think it's less of channels because we've talked about all the different things you could do, in other avenues from direct mail to PR, et cetera. Um, we've talked about repeating successful actions. So you've done that. When you hit the sustainable stage, it's really, I think there's a fork in the road in the business. And also then that ties into marketing of, are we trying to maintain our position, or are we trying to grow? Even though we just talked about scaling, you've now reached the sort of the pinnacle where you have a choice, of which direction you're going to go. And that will inform your decision in terms of the marketing, strategies that you deploy. So, and not
Makes
that
sense.
one is easier than the other. Sometimes holding the position, right, and just maintaining status quo
Oh yeah.
can be tough, right? So, and if
Yeah.
you choose the other, which is to grow, then it's like, okay, well, we were focused specifically on retail, and we're saturated, right? We've done all these things in scaling phase. We know exactly what we're going to get month in, month out. We're in all these different channels. We're sponsoring events. We do direct mail. We're at networking events. We have a PR company working for us. Then it's looking at like, okay, are you going to pick then diversify products, right? Offering service offerings, figuring out new ICPs to go after, using the same channels. Right. And so I think that's where things change.
I think people think just from the name sustainable, like, oh, I've made it. Like I can sit back, I can rest on my laurels, I can take it easy. And I think it's the exact opposite. And
Yeah.
that's what you're saying here is that at sustainable, now you get a step back and you have to reanalyze everything because you've just built an entire platform that everyone in your market is able to look at and they can start copying it, which means you now have to shift and build it out in a different way to stay ahead of the curve. Otherwise, it's like, I have a whole talk on it, and I went and I researched Blockbuster, Netflix, and Kodak. So Kodak invented the digital camera, did nothing with the technology, put themselves out of business. Hilarious. Blockbuster was able to buy Netflix twice, laughed them out of their offices, which is just, it's mind blowing. They literally laughed them out of the offices. And what was the Kodak, Blockbuster, and what did I say? No, I don't remember. But they get comfortable and they quit and they stop. If you want to look at one recently, I look at Apple, and I think just ever since Jobs died, and I can't think of his name, but he's a money guy. He's not a creative. The products have sucked. They're not innovating for the market anymore. It's the status quo. Here's a new phone. Here's a new, here's the one upgrade we did to it. Like nothing revolutionary has come out. They've tried. They were going to make a car, and they electric car. They've scrapped that. Vision Pro's a gimmick, and people aren't buying into it. So there's companies, like, they go through stages. They ebb and they flow, but it's because they get comfortable and like, oh, we're the kings. We can stop. Like no one can touch us, and that's when you die. So I think that's the key to this phase is that, yeah, you have all your levers you can pull. You know that you can put X amount of money here and get a return. And it's like a guaranteed slot machine. But when that slot machine starts putting out bad numbers, well, okay, let's go address it. Let's fix it. Let's look at it. What do we need to change? What are we tweaking? What new offer are we making? Who's our new audience? And you start playing with it, and that's how you stay on top. The other part of it is that you made a point of you can only get so big within a market. There's only so much market share you can grab. And as a startup, you probably have less than, 0.01%. And maybe you get up to being the big dog, and that's like a 10% market share in a very large market. Okay, well, if that's all I can get, then now I need to look at what market do I go to next? Do I go a community over? Do I go 10 cities over? Do I go a state over? Like, where do I need to go if I'm ambitious and really want to grow this thing? How far do I go? But then you can start using those offers there, and you have the sustainable business to fund it so you can do it faster. But that market might take different offers. But that offer might translate over to the market that you're sustainable in as people change, and you can start running it there. So I think there's like, it becomes this interesting part of business where, one thing feeds the other, even though the other thing is the more mature one.
Yeah, totally. The thing I'll add to that, that's some great tips there. Is throughout all these stages, because we started at startup and we talked about competitive advantage, really being able to plant your flag and differentiate, is through all of those stages. But you definitely want to pay attention. You definitely want to be listening. You want to be proactive. Your competitive advantage will need to be defensible. So as you said, others will want, if you're making enough noise, others are going to watch what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Others will try and replicate that success. And you see it all the time, is that you should consistently look at how you can innovate on your delivery of your product or services and double down. So don't alienate as you try to scale, as you try to grow, just who else can we go after next? Like, don't forget about the bread and butter and that ICP that, got you to where you are now, and look to continuously innovate as to how you can serve them better, so that you can sustain your position, before jumping to a new market. So not taking your eye off that ball is important.
Definitely. Okay. Anything we want to sum up, hit on that we didn't get to?
I don't think so. We're not, without going down more and more rabbit holes. This is an endless, thing. I think we covered a lot of good stuff.
I agree. I think there's look, in the last, I think we were just over 2 hours, about 2 hours and 10, 2 hours and 20 minutes or so.
Today?
If you've listened to, no, we're at hour 7 right now.
Oh, okay.
Give or take.
I was going to
right?
say,
No, all together. We've talked with you for about 2 hours and 20 minutes or so, folks. There is a lot that you can take out of this and start applying to your business, no matter where you're at. And like we've said throughout, if you're not doing something that we mentioned should happen at an earlier stage, add it in. It's totally, like, I know it's a pain to add stuff, but you start working them in slowly but surely, and it's going to make awesome returns. I will throw this out there once again. I'm waiting for someone to do it. I haven't seen anyone do it. If you don't have video versions of your 10 most asked questions on your website, your YouTube, your Facebook page, I don't care if you film them, your wife films them, your kid films it, your salesperson films it. I don't care who does it. Go get somebody to figure out what your 10 most frequently asked questions are. Record them, put them on your website, put the text version underneath, put them on the YouTube. If you don't have a YouTube channel, it's really easy. Just go start one. Right? It's the second biggest search engine after Google. And then you can put them on TikTok. You can put them on Facebook. You can put them on Instagram. You're going to start getting 10 new questions. And when you have 10 new questions, film those. I don't want to be on the phone answering the same question every time. I don't want to be on Facebook Messenger answering the same question every time. I want to get to the point. I want to make a sale. My time is valuable, so is yours. Let's cut out the nonsense. Go answer it so they can find it in an easily digestible form. And then the other thing you get out of this is when they do reach out and they say it, you say, hey, thanks for asking. You can find your answer over here. And you point them right to it. They go watch the video. Piece of cake. And it can be automated. AI can do that for you. At least on the text-based stuff. And it's going to save you so much time.
Totally. I'll add I wish more of our clients, we advocate for this, and it's good you're reminding me. I'll bring it up again. There's a great tool. I think it's like $10 a month. I have no affiliation with this tool. It's called Video Ask, and very user-friendly to just sit like we are right now. If you've ever been on a Google Meet or a Zoom, it would just be like this with either your phone or your desktop camera, and you can record exactly what Kyle's saying. The really nice thing about this is they have a good user interface for this thing to, if you're used to, you can either embed it, or like people are used to having that little chat bubble at the bottom right-hand corner of the website, is pop that up. And it, not to, scare people off when we start talking about techie terms here, but it uses, automation and conditional logic. And it can essentially be that customer service rep,
Yep.
where you can find out if somebody's, you can show up on the video, welcome them, da, 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 and then ask them if their carpet, it's a hardwood, is it da, 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 and they click a button, and the next video you have recorded will show up. So creating a very personalized experience for them on your website is something that none of your competitors are going to be doing
Yeah.
at this stage. So a great tool. It's called Video Ask,
Nice.
because then you can customize and answer questions for them, take them down the rabbit hole, and have it pop right up there. So request a quote, pop up, and take them into the form. Super powerful tool because it's providing that personality. People buy from people, right? And you're literally sitting there
That's it.
talking to them, and they click the next thing, and you're just like, oh, great! So you're going to do the living room, and then you can personalize your message for that, And you're looking for carpets, awesome. Here's the top three materials or whatever. So very great, very very cool tool that
Very nice. Great
not
recommendation.
enough people are aware of.
All right. So I think that's going to do it for us, folks. Justin, where can people find you again?
Yeah, sure. I think we covered so much over the first episode and this one. There's probably some questions that are not going to be answered in a series of 10 videos that I have. So if you do want to just reach out, it's Justin at justinxshaw.com. Happy to just answer questions that you have from this podcast. That's the same website. And then you can look me up on YouTube under Driven for Growth.
Perfect. All right, we've got a couple words from some sponsors here, listeners. It's nearing that time again. Time to respond. Time to remind you that the International Surface event is returning to Las Vegas January 28th through 30th, 2025. Mark your calendars now. Floor Academy podcast listeners will have the opportunity to register for free once registration opens in September using the promo code. Hold on, it's real difficult, folks. Kyle. Kyle. Just remember those 4 letters. Type it in the box. You will get free registration. Whether you're an installer, retailer, distributor, or serve in another capacity within our industry, Tice is a solid resource for networking and expanding your knowledge. You can also learn about the newest and industry-leading products coming to market. Stay up to date on the International Surfaces event page on Facebook or visit intlsurfaceevent.com. Ardex, providing innovative solutions for the construction industry for 75 years. From our game-changing tile and stone installation products to our easy-to-install TLT shower systems, we've got you covered. Our industry-leading moisture control products like Ardex VB100 ensure a solid foundation for our best-in-class lineup of self-leveling underlayments and subfloor preparation products such as Ardex Feather Finish and Ardex Feather Finish XF. At Ardex, we are building tomorrow. To learn more, visit www.ardexamericas.com. Don't forget to check out flooracademypod.com. I've got resources over there to help you grow your business, whether you're looking to get into one of our mastermind groups, figure out what your day rate is, track your tools, do some job costing. We've got all of that. There are also different videos over on the YouTube page that aren't necessarily podcast episodes. I've got talks that I've given from Tice in the past. I've got some stuff I've recorded on my own, such as that storytelling basics for advertising I mentioned. If you want to help support the show, you can do so at patreon.com/Floor Academy. Even $5 a month goes a long way in helping me to continue to produce the content and keep you running your business more smoothly. Again, thank you, Justin, and we will catch you all next week.